Well, it wouldn't be an Nvidia launch without some sort of controversial issue arising, except this time, it appears as though there are multiple problems surrounding the RTX 50 series. On top of that, there haven't been any signs of improvement for stock and availability, but it doesn't just stop there. We're starting to see the effects of tariffs now on GPU prices, according to Nvidia's partners. All that and more to be discussed in this video.
Hey, if you enjoy content like this, drop a like, make sure to subscribe, and smash that bell so you never miss another video.
Hey, what is going on, guys? Danny here, welcome back to the channel, and I hope you've all been doing well. There's a number of topics I wanted to discuss, and let's start off with something that I guess you could say is a bit of a fiery topic. So if you're in the PC hardware and gaming space and you consume content and news pertaining to this kind of stuff, then you probably have heard about the infamous 12V PWR connector that was melting on a whole bunch of RTX 4090 series graphics cards. There was a ton of noise made about it, and a lot of models look like they were affected. I think Gamers Nexus did a whole series of videos investigating to see what was the problem. At the end of it all, the consensus was that it was a mixture of things. One, that the connector, in my opinion, is just designed so poorly, and because of that, it leads to the second thing, which is user error. The problem stemmed from multiple factors: improper seating of connectors, users failing to fully insert it, tight cable bends near the connector, and poor contact between pins. These conditions created areas of high electrical resistance, causing extreme heat buildup at the contact points. The small pins used in the connectors were also much more sensitive to the improper connections than older 8-pin PCIe designs, exacerbating the issue under high power loads. To address these problems, the PCIe SIG released a new standard called the 12V 2x6 connector. This revised design includes several key components aimed at increasing safety and reliability. The connector now has a more robust and clearly defined retention feature, making it easier to fully seat and is less likely to become loose. It also improves pin engagement and adds an internal mechanism that prevents power delivery unless the connector is securely latched into place, mitigating the risk of improper connections. Additionally, the sense pins have been repositioned to detect secure insertion more accurately so that the user is less prone to making an error. Nvidia had even posted a diagram outlining that the RTX 50 series all have this new connector, and the good news is that it's the connector itself that's been revised. So if you're wondering if you need a new cable or adapter, then the good news is that your old one should still work. In theory, because now this leads us into the meat and potatoes of this segment of the video. So a user on the Nvidia subreddit by the name of Ivan6953 posted a picture of their RTX 5090 Founders Edition showing the port on the card itself and the connector on the cable were melted, which obviously is not good. The user claims that the connector was fully plugged in, they heard it click, and there were no gaps. They said they were playing Battlefield 5, the card was reporting a power draw of around 500 to 520 watts, which is kind of crazy, but I digress. They smelled something burning, and then they turned off their PC and discovered a melted 5090 and a cable. Now, one thing to point out here is that the OP is using a third-party cable from Mod DIY. I've seen their cables before on Amazon, but haven't personally used one myself. But maybe there might have been something wrong with it, I'm not sure, but the OP did state that they had been using it with a 4090 for a long time, so I don't know. Now, from the picture that the user posted, and I'm just speculating here, but there's one pin in the corner that's been melted, and if you look at the card in a horizontal orientation, then you'll see it's one of the first pins from the top. So I'm assuming what may have happened is that maybe after doing some cable management, the connector may have gotten a little bit loose, and if the weight of the connector, it's pulling down from that side, then it's going to be the first pin to lose contact. It's just a theory, but I think that's what might have happened. Now, I just want to also say that there really isn't a reason to freak out or anything. I've used multiple 40 series cards and multiple different 4090s, and I do have one that's in my OLED rig, and that one is actually using a third-party adapter from Fastgear, which I got from Amazon, and this was near launch. And so far, I haven't run into any melting cables or adapters. With that said, I really wish Nvidia would have just gone back to the regular old 8-pin PCIe connectors. Yeah, with the 5090, you'd need like 4 of them, and that would have made things look a little bit hideous, but at least you wouldn't be worrying about this. And I mean, just thinking about it logically, you're shoving 600 watts, with transient spikes, maybe it's like 800 plus watts into such a tiny connector. And that's asking a lot for that little connector and those pins. Like, if you've ever felt the connector under load, that thing can get pretty hot. The other thing too is that if these GPUs have become so expensive, would it kill the manufacturer if they had just put in some kind of safety module there to monitor the connection, and if there's something that seems off, it shuts off the card or, sends a message which can be relayed into the OS. I know there's some higher end cards from AIBs that have them. I know Erock on Tech, a good friend of the channel, did an overview of his 5080 Astral, and he showed how ASUS has implemented this, which is great, but I think it should be on all cards and should be mandated by Nvidia, especially when we're talking about cards that are, several thousands of dollars in these cases. For the time being, it's just one report for now, so, you don't need to get all freaked out. But some precautions I suggest is to, triple or quadruple check your connections. And the other thing I do definitely recommend doing is undervolting and power limiting the card. I feel like I've talked about this countless times on the channel, but, I really want to hammer it down. I really want people to know that these cards have been pushed really hard from the manufacturer. Hence, I have this clip where I'm showing my 4090 undervolted and tuned, pulling like 100 watts less than stock and still maintaining that same performance. It's the same thing with CPUs. There's just a lot of undervolting headroom with these modern components that are just pushed so hard from the factory. This was one of the reasons why I wanted to get my hands on a 5090 myself so badly, because I'm like, you know what? I really want to do some power scaling tests with this graphics card that's rated at 575 watts. Anyways, moving on to our next topic, and this pertains to many users who are lucky enough to get their hands on a 50 series GPU reporting issues with crashes, black screens, display disconnections, and more. If you go to places like Reddit or Twitter, you'll see various reports of people saying that they've been experiencing these problems. Now, many of them have been attributed to the latest 572.16 driver, because even users who owned a 40 series GPU like the 4090 have encountered these issues in games with crashes and blue screens, and that went away once they said they rolled back the drivers. Nvidia did roll out a hotfix, but many are still saying that it hasn't fixed the issues. There's a number of examples. I saw one user saying that almost every game they tried with their 5090 gave them issues, and I do recall, as I was watching various reviews and reading them, there were many who stated amongst the tech press that they had been experiencing issues like black screens and crashes and bugs where the frequency would just lock itself and it wouldn't go higher until they completely had shut off the machine and started things back up again. One fix that some people suggested is that they had to go into the BIOS and set the PCIe slot to Gen 4 mode, and some of those people are speculating that the reason why Nvidia's Founders Edition has been exhibiting these problems is because of the unique design where they're using a daughter board connected to the main board, which has the GPU die on it. I don't think that really is the culprit, because from what I've been seeing, there's been reports of AIB partner cards also experiencing these problems, so I'm not sure. These types of issues do remind me of all the issues we heard about with RDNA 1, with cards like the 5700 XT and 5700. You can Google it and you'll see lots of people who are using those cards stated they had experienced many similar issues. Some people stated it was due to drivers, and some people were speculating that maybe there was some fundamental hardware issue with the silicon. But regardless, for the 50 series, these cards, which are several thousands of dollars, these problems should not be happening. Nvidia has put out a statement that they are investigating the issues, but they haven't really alluded to what it could be. Hoping that it does come down to a driver problem and it's just a one-off. For the most part, Nvidia's driver for me have been rock solid so far. Let's move on, and I just wanted to follow up on a previous video's topic, which was regarding availability for the 50 series, and if you've been looking for a 50 series GPU, then you'll already be pretty well informed on this, but it's about nearly 2 weeks since the 5090 and 5080 had hit store shelves. The availability hasn't improved at all. Over here in Canada, when I was talking to some Canada computer locations, they were basically talking about how they're barely seeing any cards come in, and this is them referring to both the 5080 and 5090. And, if you go onto their website and you try to order one, it doesn't even let you do that. They were saying that they might see like 1 or 2 cards come in weekly at most. At Memory Express, I've heard the situation is the same, if not it's worse. And, from what I've been told, we did have a recent shipment of cards. I think it was only like 210 cards, with most of those being 5080 cards. And this was for all of Canada. And then down in the States, I'm hearing the situation actually isn't better. And globally, this whole launch has just been completely scarce. I'm hearing how folks everywhere are just having trouble finding them in stock. But what's even worse is that these prices are just crazy. And recently, it looks like some AIBs have actually raised prices recently than what they had listed their cards for initially when they launched. Now, I am hearing that some of these price increases have been attributed to the tariffs, but it's crazy because many of these aftermarket models were already priced considerably more than MSRP or what the FE model goes for. And now we're looking at further markups, and then this doesn't even include the markups you see from retailers. This is what they're listing on their own storefronts. Like, for example, I was looking at the 5080 prices here in Canada, and, I was just shaking my head because in some instances, they're more than what I had paid for when I bought a 4090. So in 2025, you're paying 4090 money, if not more, but you're getting a GPU that's inferior. Now, to be fair, our dollar has dropped quite a bit since then, but to me, it's still crazy. And I mean, if you look at prices in USD, they're actually not too far off from what the initial 4090 prices were. But, it's just crazy to me. And what's even more baffling is that the demand is still right there. You see cards come in stock, you look at the prices and you're like, yeah, that's pretty damn expensive. But then it sells out instantly, so then you're like, okay, then what the heck? Now, some of that can be attributed to scalpers and bots. You're going to have people who are going to take advantage of the scarcity situation and try to make a quick buck, and I'm hoping all of you who are watching this video are smart enough to not buy from them. The second thing is FOMO. There's been a lot of discussion online that Nvidia could purposely be limiting supply and create artificial scarcity so that it looks like the cards are highly in demand, and that creates some FOMO. So some potential prospects who may have been on the fence are pushed over the edge and now are fighting tooth and nail to get their hands on a GPU. Because honestly, what I think would have happened is that if there were enough cards to go around for everyone, and, after seeing the benchmarks of underwhelming performance, there would have been a lot less people in a rush to go out and get these cards. But because you see and hear how, finding one of these cards is like a unicorn, or spotting a unicorn, or finding a needle in a haystack, so when you do see that opportunity, you're like, you know what, I gotta take this. The third thing is price. By keeping supply low and demand high, then you can jack up the prices, because if the product is still instantly selling out, then you've actually priced it too low. I mean, try to go buy an Asus Astral or MSI Supreme Liquid 5090 or 5080. Good luck, you're not going to find one in stock. But again, this is all just speculation, you guys. Nobody has really any hard evidence to suggest that Nvidia is purposely limiting the supply, and there's some secret warehouse that actually has like a million 5090s sitting there. Only reason why people keep throwing this out there is because, aside from maybe AI demands and the tariffs, we don't really have any other reasons to go off of as to why this launch has been so poor in terms of availability. There's no health crisis, no lockdowns, no crypto mining boom, and it's just a shame since because of those pandemic era prices have now truly become the new norm. It's going to get interesting once we have the 5070 Ti officially launch, which I'm hearing will be soon, and then how stock and availability affects that card. But I'm hoping the situation improves over the next few weeks. As for now, that's going to be wrapping it up for this one, and we'll touch base in the next video.
If you guys found this video to be informative and entertaining, then leave a like. Let me know your thoughts and comments down below. Be sure to check out the video description for cool links and ways to support the channel, such as using my Amazon affiliate link. And if you're interested in seeing more content like this, then consider subscribing. I'd greatly appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for watching, take care, and I'll see you in the next one.